Hello, my pretties. It's the Lion Queen here, and we are at episode 213 of Shadows and Pretties. Now, the last episode, I did a review of the 2006 slasher movie called Hatchet. So, that was directed by, Adam Green. And today we are going to be reviewing the sequel to the first Hatchet movie called Hatchet 2, which is the second movie of the Hatchet series. So this one is a pretty good sequel, and it picks up right after the first film ended. You know. So anyways, they got some, we got two actors that came back to do Victor Crowley, and Mr. Crowley, like Kane Hodder, and we got Tony Todd to, reprise his role as Reverend Zombie in the 2006 movies. So, anyways, Danielle Harris, who originally plays Mary Beth, originally played by Tamara Freeman. The film originally screened in London before it was released to the United States in October. So, anyways, let's get on with this movie. Now, this is a sequel to the first movie, so I kind of want to state this right now that this movie, I am going to be spoiling pretty much everything about this movie. So, yeah, if you guys do not want me to, spoil it, I recommend you click off this video if you haven't. Then, so, yeah, anyways, I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, this is a sequel to the first Hatchet movie, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and review the second movie, because, I found the second movie to be a pretty good follow-up to the first movie, which I really got to say that right now, that this is actually a pretty good movie, sequel. So, anyways, with that being the case, let's get started. So, this is picking up immediately where the first film ended, where Victor is attacked by Victor Crowley, but however, she manages to escape. Jack Cracker finds her and pulls her out of the river and takes her back to his cabin, but after finding out her last name, he forces her to leave, telling her that if she wants help, she needs to see Reverend Zombie. So moments after she leaves, Jack views the Sharpedo's camcorder, which he had found in the swamp, and the footage shows Sharpedo filming different topless women, including Misty and Jenna, but it also reveals Sharpedo's plan to lure an underage into doing really messed up stuff and venture into the swamp. So after Jack finishes watching the video, he gets killed by Victor Crowley, who gouges his intestines out and strangles him until he dies. So later on, when Mary Beth returns to Reverend Zombie's shop after demanding to speak with him, he reluctantly lets her in, and it's revealed that Rev Zombie had a small business going on with Sean, the tour guide who was murdered the night before, and the boat was one of his own. After leaning in on the last name, he tells her that her father was one of the boys responsible for causing the fire that led to Victor Crowley's death. He also tells her that Thomas, Victor's father, cheated on his wife Cheyenne with her nurse Lena after she was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Moments before dying, Cheyenne has placed a curse upon the child conceived by Lena from the affair. So months later, Lena died after giving birth to Victor Crowley in the swamp, after Victor accidentally got killed by Thomas, who accidentally kills him while trying to save him. He confronts three boys responsible for the fire, but due to this violent attitude and the shotgun and he threatened them with, they had, along with their parents, denied it. So Thomas isolated and became reclusive, and he eventually died 10 years later of a broken heart. Then the story is complemented by various scenes which undid Victor slaughters anyone who wanders into the Honey Island swamp. So when Mary Beth tells Reverend Zombie that she wants to go back and retrieve the remains of her father and brother, so he agrees and tells her that he must bring a family member with her. After she leaves, Zombie calls Justin, Sean's brother, and reveals that Sean has never returned with the boat. He lies saying that he's going into the swamp to find Sean in the boat. So he tells Justin to summon a group of hunters, especially a man with Trent Graves, to go with them. So when Mary Beth returns home, where her uncle Bob promptly shows up and he tells her that she must stay away from Reverend Zombie, but reluctantly agrees to accompany her to recruitment meeting Zombie's shop. Zombie then tells the hunters that he will pay them $500 each to retrieve his boat and $5,000 for the head of Victor Crowley. He then tells Trent that he will pay him double to go, and Trent agrees. So, the hunters then proceeded to venture into the swamp with Mary Beth and her uncle. So, however, as the night descends on the boat, when the rest is about to leave, but the hunters, Claudius and Chad, stay behind the boat while the others fan out. Mary Beth, Zombie, Justin, Bob, and Trent, they go to looking for Crowley's shed, as well as the bodies of his victims along the way. Zombie explains to Justin that Trent and the Mary Beth's father and uncle were kids who started the fire that led to Victor Crowley's death. Zombie believes that if Crowley kills Bob and Trent, his soul will be at peace and he'll finally leave the swamp. But not after finding the bodies in the shed, they check the cabin. Meanwhile, the rest of the hunting party are similarly murdered by Victor. Chad gets violently hacked in the face by Victor's hatchet, and Claudius' face is mutilated by the boat propeller. While Leighton and Avery were going at it in the part, Victor appears and decapitates Leighton. As Avery tries to run away, Victor traps something between her legs with his hatchet, and then finally John and Vermin are simultaneously split in half from the growing up with a long chainsaw while searching the cabin. So the remaining party members hear Victor outside, and as they hide, Justin tells Mary Beth of Zombie's plot to get her uncle and Trent killed. After Mary Beth tells Justin that Sean is dead, she runs to warn Bob, but Justin jams the door shut with his chair. But Victor appears behind him and kills him, wearing his head head away with a slender belt. And Bob, in an attempt to save Justin, accidentally releases Victor. Mary Beth attempts to attack him, but gets tossed against a wall. Victor then on scene, Trent immediately goes after him and spearing him into the kitchen where the final battle occurs. Despite Victor's strength, Trent then uses the nearby surroundings to take to his advantage, temporarily pinning Crowley against a support beam as he beats Victor with his tables and chairs. But when Trent tries to kill Victor with a cleaver, Victor kills him by breaking his leg and ends up severing the top half of his head by kicking it against the table. Yeah, pretty gruesome. So meanwhile, Victor grabs Mary Beth and drags her out of the house, trapping Bob inside with Victor, restrains Mary Beth while she screams as she hears Bob being murdered by Victor inside. She falls to the ground in tears, and Zombie declares that it's all over and claims that Victor Crowley is dead. However, Mary Beth tells Zombie that she will report his crimes to the police, but Zombie responds by preparing to shoot her. Only does now Mary Beth reveal that Bob was not a real uncle. Her father's brother had died of leukemia when she was 12, and Bob was her only father's best friend. So Zombie returns to see Victor breaking into the wall, now realizing his plan to kill Victor Crowley had been killed. So Zombie advances towards Victor in an attempt to choke him, but he ends up killing him by severing him in half before ripping out his severed spine, effectively skinning him alive. Just after Victor tosses Zombie's upper skinned body in the woods, Mary Beth ends up striking him in the forehead with his own hatchet, knocking him to the ground. And then she hysterically beats his head until a bloody pulp. She eventually stops and walks off. Just as Victor's hand twitches, she returns with Zombie's shotgun and fires the remains of his head, seemingly killing him, and thus how the movie ends. I gotta really say that this was actually a pretty good concept to the original first movie. I actually really do like it, so I could definitely really say that it's a pretty good movie. I definitely do really have to say it's a pretty good movie. So, anyways, Hatchet 2 was announced sometime in November of 2008 when Anchor Bay Entertainment released a teaser poster for the film. However, Adam Green stated that he would be writing and directing depending on how long the other projects he was working on took. So he states if the projects took too long, he would pass up writing and directing duties onto someone else. However, in November 24th of 2009, it was officially announced that Adam Green would return to write and direct. the final draft of the script was finally completed on December 7th, 2009, in order to keep the details under wraps. Even the crew did not receive copies of the script, and the majority of the cast only received selected pages. Fake scripts, fake endings, and fake storylines were circulating around the industry, and no visitors and guests were allowed near the set, and the guests gathered the table for their first reading on December 15th, 2009. So, in 2009, on November 24th, along with the announcement that Adam Green would return to write and direct, it was announced that Kane Hodder would reprise his role of Victor Crowley. And of course, it was announced late the day after that Tony Todd would be returning. So, I was surprised that those two actors came back. Kane Hodder actually was the best Victor Crowley actor I've ever seen. His performance is amazing. Yeah, I do know that Victor Crowley's deaths, like when he kills people, like ripping their heads off, hacking them with hacksaws, ripping their, body parts apart. It's really gruesome with the deaths of how strong he is. But it's still a pretty good movie regardless. I really do find this one to be a pretty good sequel to the first one. I honestly love the first one. The second movie, on the other hand, actually did a pretty good job. It picks up right after. But I don't understand why it did not, why it took at least a few years. Because the first Hatchet movie came out in 2006. And this one came out at least a couple years, like maybe a few years late, 4 years later. To accommodate the whole Green's promotional duties for the film Frozen had been shooting, Dane had to be split into two parts. So the first portion began in January of 2007, my brother's birthday, in 2010, and ended on January 23rd. So that was the first portion of it. Now the second portion began on January 15th, 2010, and the shooting for Hatchet was wrapped up sometime in February 2010, around that time. So, of course, it premiered on Europe first, and then it was released in the U.S., West, and etc. It's a pretty good movie. A lot of people really have to say that an unrated cut had the DVD when it was released on DVD. 2 minutes of gore got removed, including an entire death scene. However, the film was also released unrated, so it was pretty something. So there is a third Hatchet movie, which I'm debating on if I should review it or not. But I do know there is a fourth film called Victor Crowley, which I do plan to review that one as well sometime, if I ever get the chance to. I'm not really too sure. So the whole second movie was honestly a really good concept. I like how it took place, not far after, the first movie. It takes place right up where the second movie was made. I do like the gore and the death scenes. It's pretty brutal, to be honest, but it's still a really amazing, movie that involved, death scenes of, certain people, and involves people, getting hacked to death or whatever. It's a pretty brutal movie. But like I said, I've seen worse before, so yeah, I've seen this movie before. It doesn't really, bother me, but it does go into more detail on what happened to Thomas Crowley's first wife, and, it gives a little bit more detail. But, in the first movie, it only gives out, just a valid, explanation of why Victor Crowley the way he is. But since Victor Crowley kind of had, a little bit of a rough childhood before his death and all, and, this actually goes into more depth, the second movie. I think they did a pretty good job of going into more depth into it on why he is the way he is. The gore effects are pretty good, as well as the good acting. I do like, basically the deaths are pretty amazing. Now, I know I'm repeating myself, but yeah, the deaths, the gore, flat out awesome. The fact that Raven Zombie was skinned alive in one scene, that was pretty brutal. I'm not gonna lie right now. That was a pretty brutal death, but, I've seen worse before, and it doesn't really bother me. So I really gotta say, it's a really awesome movie. It does have a really good, concept for it. It honestly, flat out really does a lot of, stuff in this. So I really gotta say, it's a pretty good movie. It does pick up where it left off pretty good from the first movie. Really gotta say, it's a pretty good movie in my personal opinion. But like I said, you'll have to watch the second movie to understand where I'm coming from the first movie. So, anyways, with that being said, this is just simply my own personal opinion on this movie. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these movies. If you don't like this movie too, that's fine. I mean, I thought this was a pretty good movie. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you like this movie, that's cool too, because I'm respectful to everybody's opinions regarding to this movie. So I guess with that being said, what did you guys personally think of this movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what you have done personally to help make the movie a lot better, feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're brand new here, leave a like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out.